So we need 3 pieces of blank paper, or 4. You need your books, and you need to be on page 3. So on page 234, I'm going to execute Fulan, and I'm going to make an assertion about the passage, and then we're going to walk through how you would develop a 20-minute essay on this.
Fair summary.
Okay, good deal. All right, we can work with that. You'll develop your own, but we'll kind of go through the steps together. Okay, 234. Okay, so we got to get moving so that we have time to write here at the end. We're going to start with 2/3 of the way down, with the paragraph beginning with down. Okay, down and up, and head foremost on the steps of the building. Now on his knees, now on his ass, now on his back, dragged and struck at and stifled by the bunches of grass and straw that were thrust into his face by hundreds of hands. Torn, bruised, panting, bleeding, yet always entreating. Yes.
I said I disagreed because the aristocratic class didn't torture for days or weeks, but they tortured for years and lifetimes.
Okay, so your argument is the yeah, right? Valid argument. We can work with that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. There's equal disregard for human life.
Spread, but you're saying it's spread over time.
Yeah.
So okay.
I mean, I didn't even bring that up, but just in the text, we see an equal disregard for.
Because.
Well, both have disregard for human life.
Because.
Yeah, which one has more? I saw it as being it's focused on self, and because they're so focused on themselves.
But both are focused on themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like, but the difference is the working class killed them quickly instead of killing them.
And I wouldn't say they killed them quickly, but you're saying that the oppression that took place was, I mean, we've only seen a 3-year period of oppression versus generations. That's what you're saying, right? In terms of time.
Kind of.
Okay, we can work with that. Sorry, I got sucked in.
It's dripping down my chin.
Oh.
Didn't actually talk
I guess
about
I meant to like I meant equally barbaric.
Yeah, well, here and here, and then we'll move on. Yes.
I agree with it because the people themselves, the working class people themselves, are more barbaric because they're actually taking out and carrying out the deeds themselves. Whereas the aristocratic people, you didn't see a bunch of rich people going out and themselves.
Give about 30 seconds.
So are you saying that the working class is worse, or that they're kind of on the same?
No, I'm saying that the aristocratic class is worse.
Okay, so here's what.
It was swifter murders.
Here's, and I'm glad you do this, and don't take this offensively.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have to be very careful about. What you did there is pretty much just reworded your thesis.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Bam, breaking down of that. Does that make sense? He was pretty excited that, we killed a guy because he insulted his own daughter. I wouldn't say jollies. It's a different type of jollies, but they do kind of like it.
We're back.
Yes.
So I said, and I probably kind of.
Thesis again.
Oh yeah, that I agreed because the working class was doing it themselves, whereas the aristocrats were just giving the orders.
Okay, why is that more barbaric?
Because, in a sense, because what the aristocrats were doing was, I mean, like, they weren't physically going down and doing it, they were giving the order to someone else to, hang the person or, beat them as they're doing their work, or whatever. And so, in that sense, it's really just the working class within themselves doing it to each other. It's just some of them have been given orders by someone above them, like if that makes sense. Like you've got the people working
I
as an
think-
overseer.
I think you're doing the
Who's
same
giving the
thing that
orders.
Nate did. You're just restating it. You're not really giving a
No, that's
reason
like-
why.
Because the aristocrats were the ones who gave the orders, but they didn't personally do it.
Right, but why does the removal make it less barbaric?
Because they aren't doing it themselves.
Why is not doing it themselves? Why is that less barbaric? Well, we all agree that it's different. It's all barbaric. But what I'm saying, why is that less barbaric? You haven't answered that question.
He's not saying you're wrong, he's saying
Yeah.
me explain it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All I'm saying is you haven't answered the question why yet. You're just restating the same thing. Does that make sense? And that's, guys, that's the natural thing that you're going to end up doing. That's the temptation, I guess, that's going to be there. Don't just restate it. Give an actual reason why. Okay, does that make sense? With that. For time's sake, Anna, I'm going to keep going and not do yours.
You do it in one sentence?
So you might need to fine tune yours a little bit, but now the last step is examples from the text. Okay? And in a different essay where it's not based on a text, it would just be examples from your head. But you have an example for each point. So why? Nate, you had the idea of time, that it affected an entire culture throughout generations versus not. You can talk about, you could get an example from the text. What are some examples from the text? You could talk about the heaps of grass and all of that. You can talk,
Running over.
yeah, and how that. Well, I don't know about running over because that's just more specific. But the heaps of grass show that this is a long-term progression. You can also talk about how the Marquis talks about the line of the Evermond family. How, look at what we've done this whole time. You know, those are examples from the text. Okay, does that make sense? So find just some examples of the text to bolster what you're saying. Okay. All right. In your outline, this is what it would look like. This is your introduction and thesis right here, right? These are your two main points. This would be like your A and your A to these two main points. You don't have an A and a B here just because we don't have time for you to have an A and a B. But anyway, and then you would have obviously your conclusion. Let's talk about the introduction real quick, because I think this is rather important. What you want to do at the very beginning as you introduce your essay is present the entire problem, the structure around which you're writing. So the structure here is basically the assertion of what's going on, right? So you can say something like in Charles Dickens' novel A Tale of Two Cities, he depicts barbaric actions in both the aristocratic and the working class. Okay, does that make sense? That sort of gives you the framework of what's going on. Sorry, not the assertion yet. That gives you the framework of that. Sorry, let me look what I exactly wrote down here. I'm sorry. The assertion, good. But do you get what I'm saying? The actual
Are we
the
doing
actual
this?
framework. Yes, you will.
Oh, so it needs
It's
to be-
okay. It's your outline, okay? So you present the framework, you present the problem, right, of what you're going to discuss. So in this deal, it's barbaric behavior. Then you want to present the assertion about the problem. So in this case, we have it that the working class is more barbaric, right? And then,
How do we present that if we disagree with it?
You put a note there.
Just-
Some
just-
people
just
would
listen.
say that
just listen because we have time. I just gotta plow through this here. So you would say something like, in Charles Dickens in his novel A Tale of Two Cities presents barbaric behavior between both in the aristocratic and the working class. Many readers Many readers come to the conclusion that the working class are depicted as more barbaric than the aristocratic class. There you go, okay? Many readers might conclude, or do conclude. Does that make sense? And that's how you put the assertion there. And then you put your thesis in there, but you say, the working class is indeed more barbaric in the novel because your thesis. Or, the working or the aristocratic class is actually, in contrast, the aristocratic class is actually the more barbaric, shows more barbaric behavior because. Does that make sense? So really, you could do it in 3 sentences. You can have more than that if you'd like, but you could do it in 3 sentences: presenting the problem, presenting the assertion, and presenting your thesis, and then you go into why. Why to the why. Make sense?
Let's do it.
Alright, you have till the end of class to write. Use the outlines that you have developed as we've worked here.
When we take from the book, do we have to cite it?
No, you don't have to cite from the book, but you'll reference the example, but you don't have to have page number or anything. We have a very limited amount of time. You have 15 minutes to go. You'll write to the end of class.
Will we turn in the outline?
Yes. You have 15 minutes to write, which is about how much time you would have to write on an essay. It would take about 5 minutes to do what we just did, and then you would write. So this will give you a pretty good idea of how that works. So go ahead, write an essay based on the outline that you developed as we modeled this together. And I'll try to give you a warning towards the end.
Do you need a title?
And just write it for now. All right, good luck.